Hello everyone, Darren here, and on today's episode of WotC Academy, we will look at feigning. Now, what is feigning? Well, feigning in a world of tanks is pretty much going one direction while you are spotted, and then as soon as you become unspotted, you go a different direction and come at the enemy that way. This is a tactic that most casual players do not really, grasp or understand. But once you actually learn how to do this, it becomes a very, very good beneficial tactic when dealing with one-on-one fights. So let's take a look at how to do this in the game. So in this example here, I am getting spotted by the mouse, and I'm going to use this mountain here to try and break line of sight. So I'm going to go left to try and use that mountain there. And as soon as I get unspotted, you're going to see that I'm going to turn around, initiate the feign, and go to a direction that he is not going to expect me to go to. Currently, the mouse thinks that I'm going to be coming from the ridge or the ramp that I was last seen going to. So he's going to prepare himself for there. Luckily, you get a nice good top-down view to see it from that perspective as well. As you can see, I'm safely able to put a shot into the mouse because he was not looking or paying attention to this direction because he was not expecting me to be there. So I'm hanging around right now trying to, bait the mouse into thinking that I'm staying there. And as soon as I'm convinced that he thinks I'm going to stay there, I'm going to initiate another feint and go back to the direction that I originally was going to, with hopes that the mouse is looking that way as well. What the problem with these feigns, and this example here, you're going to see it a couple times, but the problem with these feigns is that it relies heavily on the ability to think of the of your enemy in a 1v1. The enemy might actually start thinking that you're going to do a double feign, or he's going to start trying to read your patterns that you are doing, and that you got to be able to think on your feet of when to initiate a double feign, when to stop doing the feigns, or when to keep doing the feigns, and it will depend on the opponent that you are facing. Coming up, though, we're going to look at a real-life example from a previous video that that you saw already, and that is the AMX-30B. I'm sure you've already heard my play-by-play of this in the previous video, but this is a very good example of what I was talking about with it being very difficult to try and use this tactic against an enemy if you don't fully understand what he's thinking at the time. Now you're going to see I do the exact same thing I just did in the little set up example that I did. You're going to see that I did the exact same thing. I'm going to come around from the middle ramp, and I'm going to put a shot into this badger. Now, that it's the same exact idea tactic. That's why I used the previous experiment. That's the word I was looking for earlier. In the controlled environment there. That was the same experiment, same thing, because this was like the easiest place to do this example. So the badger turned around, was starting to come towards me, and so I used this to go around back to the original location. And I was thinking that the badger was going to still go and to this direction. Now you see me hesitate because I was thinking maybe he might be smart enough to look this direction anyway, and I should maybe just turn around and do a double feint. But I decided to go up this way, and lo and behold, the badger was actually smart enough to think that I was going to keep going this way and he was going to stay. At my mind, I was punishing myself for, like, other than the fact that I took a shot, I was punishing myself saying I should have literally stuck with my gut and did another feint again. And so that's what you're going to see me do. I become unspotted. I go back this direction, and you're going to see that I actually do, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this feint because if he looked this direction and followed all the way through, he's not going to expect me to come from the same direction. And that's not exactly how it worked. What ended up happening here is that he was somewhat semi-prepared for me to come back from this direction for some reason. And so I just stay up. I'm like, whatever. I'm already here. I can't be playing this game for too long. And so I take a shot while putting a shot into the badger. And it's at this point that I'm like, okay, I can't keep using these same ramps. I need to try something different. And so what I do is I'm like, I'm going to take the risk of driving the extra distance, making him figure out exactly where I'm going and where I'm going to be coming from, and I'm going to try and come around behind him. So I'm doing my best right now to stay away from the getting spotted, any ramps, any ascending parts of terrain that would get me spotted. I'm going to come around behind him, and you're going to see here that luckily it works out in my favor. He was not expecting me to come from behind. And this is what I mean by it being very difficult sometimes to actually read your opponent, and that is why this tactic is sometimes very tricky. And that concludes today's video on the feigning tactic. I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WotC Academy.